Is it acceptable for a man to beat up a woman if she started the fight? A man and a woman who are a couple got into an argument and it turned physical. The woman got physical first, but didn't cause him any injuries. However, the man responded by injuring her to the point that she ended up in the hospital. Was he justified in his response? Does their physical size make a difference? For instance, if the man was significantly larger, would it be less acceptable than if they were closer to the same size? Edit. The neighbors called the cops. She was found in a pool of blood and was not aware of what had happened. She was then sent to the hospital. The injuries weren't severe, just what was likely a broken nose and a head wound that required a few stitches. For clarification, I'm a woman and I'm not saying I approve or disapprove of this. I'm just interested in other people's opinions. Edit 2. They'd both been hitting each other, but she was the aggressor. Given the size difference, he probably could have just restrained her. He pushed her hard and she hit her head. She was also drunk. Self-defense is okay no matter the situation. But it's case-sensitive if the force used was appropriate in scale. If she slaps you and you return the favor by putting her in hospital condition, that's excessive. But if Shusha's about to stab you and you pin her down and happen to break a bone doing so, it's justified. Whatever is necessary to protect yourself. No. There is a difference between stopping someone from hurting you, self-defense, and beating someone until they need to go to the hospital. Either for men and women. It's not okay to beat up someone. Beating someone up is not the same as self-defense. The reaction went way beyond self-defense. You don't need to beat someone unconscious to protect yourself. Male or female. Size doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter. You should always use the least amount of force necessary to defend yourself, or even no force at all. Back off, run away, etc. Wouldn't that be wrong to do with anyone? I don't think gender matters in a fight. But it's about equal force. If someone is a lot weaker than you, it doesn't mean you send him to hospital. You just use your strength to defend yourself. No, it's not. I'd say the same thing about a small guy lightly hitting a big strong woman and her beating the shit out of him till he was bleeding and passed out too. The bigger, stronger person can defend themselves, but going beyond that means you're committing assault. No. Self-defense is acceptable, but not putting her in the hospital. Beating up. No self-defense. Yes. Necessary force is all you should ever use. If someone is beating on you, then by all means put them on the floor. But not in hospital. In Spain we have this concept in self-defense that's called proporcionalidad. Basically, if someone attacks you, you can only use as much force as they used. If they didn't end up both in the hospital, the man would have charges. The answer is almost always no. People in general get extremely upset and look down on men that get physical with women, even if the woman started the altercation. In the case you just described, he was absolutely in the wrong. If he wasn't getting hurt and he wailed on her, he definitely overreacted. Size does matter. If it was some scrawny 19-year-old guy doing the same to him, it'd be seen as just as bad if he reacted the same way. No. In this case he absolutely committed assault. He went way beyond self-defense. No. All use of physical force needs to be appropriate and proportional. You only endanger someone's life if they are endangering yours. Otherwise, use only the force required to separate you from your attacker and make good your escape. De-escalation is always the way to go. Whatever you need to do to get there while yielding the least amount of damage in the process is the way to go. Regardless of age, gender, size, whatever. I don't think beating someone up is ever justified. That implies you are the one being aggressive. If someone attacks you and then tried to run away, you shouldn't chase them down to make sure they get hurt more. Like so many others have said, self-defense good. But beating up is just playground speak for violent assault. How about we just not hit anyone? Kindergarten rules. Guys, kindergarten rules. You are entitled to use reasonable force to defend yourself. You are not allowed to beat your assailant to a pulp well beyond the force that was used against you. This is the case irrespective of the sex of the assailant. Men have been convicted of using unreasonable force against other men in this scenario too. It has sometimes resulted in a manslaughter conviction in English courts. I see the incels are out in full force here with their equal rights, equal fights comments. Hey, this is a tough one. It's not fair. But, no, probably not. If you fight with anyone who isn't really in the same weight class, lit and fig, you lose either way. Either the person beats you and you just lose. Or you beat them and then you're the hero that beat up someone smaller and weaker than you. Use minimal force and escape the situation as soon as you can. Not bad advice for any altercation. Really. Self-defense has a limit of reason. If she had threatened his life, then he would be 100% justified. If she just was physical but not really put a threat to his life, then he should only have used enough force to defuse the situation. But not more than what's strictly necessary. But ultimately, she started dishing it out. Golden rule always applies. Never give what you can't take. You can defend yourself. Beating the shit out of her is what's wrong. In my book, I would only fight a woman that way if she's messing around with my wife or kids. I would never hit my partner, and if a stranger attacked me on the streets, there are ways to subdue without hurting someone that way. What a dumb question. Only use physical violence out of self-defense. Absolutely not. As a man, if I get the hint she's trying to start a fight, I'll just vacate the premises ASAP. Best self-defense in my experience. I would never lay a finger on a woman. In Minnesota, we have a duty to retreat law. This means THST if you can retreat. You should. If you can't, do what you gotta do. And that kind of summarizes how I feel about physical fights. No matter the gender. Even if she started the fight, he should have scoffed and showed that he was the stronger person by leaving. No. Walk away. Male violence against women is never okay. No. Violence is only acceptable as self-defense. Physical size makes no difference. The huge escalation is the issue. No. It is not acceptable. No. He was not justified. Yes. Size and/or muscle mass does make a difference. A lot of difference. Because it's a determining and consequential aspect of the power imbalances between men and women. Generally. What do you mean the injuries weren't severe when she was literally found in a pool of blood? Any injury that causes significant blood loss is severe. Lastly, and to be crystal clear, that man should be charged for assault. And that woman should leave him as soon as she can with her life, because it'll only get worse. It is never okay for a man to raise his hands on women or kids. I'm a man and I say this. What a piece of shit. Where was this? Makes me mad, wanna beat his ass.